This right here is the new Peak Design Pro Travel Tripod. And in this video, we're gonna figure out, is this worth $800? And we're gonna look at how it stacks up compared to the old travel tripod, and then also some other travel tripods that I've been using recently. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Whenever you have tripod shots like this in sequence, and often that means hiking, putting the tripod down, and then picking up the camera and doing it all again. Now, I know tripods aren't the most exciting subject in the world. We always want to see what's the newest camera, what's the newest drone, etc. But tripods are such an essential tool, especially for those of us who are solo creators. Put a camera down on a tripod, you want to make sure that that camera's secure. If you have a $6,000 camera with a $2,000 lens, you want to make sure that that tripod is not going to fall over when you're out filming. And when I'm out doing an adventure, like recently I was out in the Eastern Sierras with a couple of my buddies, and I was using a tripod all the time. I would stick it down to grab shots of our vehicles moving through a landscape, or I used it to film myself when I was at camp or filming with some new drones and some different things that I was doing. And what I don't want to have happen is my main camera fall over and crash and get ruined. So having a good tripod is important. This tripod came out in 2020. This was the original carbon fiber travel tripod. And this thing was very unique when it first came out because there was no easy tripod that really fit for the adventure filmmaker. It could go in the side of your backpack. You could take it anywhere. It's pretty lightweight. And it had a great ball head that was able to, get the camera level and, set up your shots. But this is kind of old tech now. Like this was 2020. And a lot has happened in the world of tripods since this initial one was released. This is Alonzi's version of the same tripod with a bunch of additions that make it better in a lot of ways. Like this has been my go-to tripod for pretty much everything that I do. My camera, sitting over there right now with my expensive camera and expensive lens, is on an Alonzi tripod. And I've used it when I'm out filming in other countries, when I'm doing my documentary work. This really has been my go-to. But recently, Peak Design announced this one and two other tripods as well. This is now what they're calling the Pro Tripod, and this is the Pro Light. So this is the most lightweight out of all three tripods. You could see immediately it's bigger, it has bigger legs, and when you go to the Pro and the Pro Tall, those tripods are even bigger than this one and even more heavy duty. And before we get into my thoughts around these different tripods, I want to go through some specs so you could really see the differences between each one in terms of the numbers. And then we'll get into my experience because I took this one with me for the last week when I was in the Eastern Sierras, used it in a lot of ways, and I've used both of these tripods for a lot of stuff over the last few years. So let's talk specs. And I know probably right off the bat, you're probably wondering, what is the cost of each one of these tripods? What's the big difference here? So the travel tripod, the original one, this was $600. Pretty steep for a small carbon fiber travel tripod. Well, the Pro Light tripod, the new one, this one is $800. So it is more expensive. And when you go to the Pro, it's $900. And when you go to the Pro Tall, that's $1,000. Now, something to note, this Pro tripod is only on Kickstarter right now. So I don't know if these prices are going to go up from where they are now when they actually become available for retail. But that's the price that I paid for this tripod, $800. I actually have some other parts coming with this tripod that's going to make it even better than what it is right now. And I'll talk about that in a second. However, we have this Alonzi. This is the Zero F38 travel tripod. This one is only $300. So it's pretty significant difference because it's half the cost of the original travel tripod, even less than this Pro Light. Now let's talk about the weight of each one of these. So this tripod is 2.8 pounds. This one is 3.7 pounds, and the Alonzi is 2.4 pounds. So they're pretty similar. These two are in the same range, and then it's about a pound more for this Travel Pro Light tripod. Part of that is the size is actually bigger. So when it's packed, it's about 19 inches, whereas both of these are smaller. So when you pack them down, they're a little bit shorter. They're pretty close to the same, about 15, 16 inches. But this one is a little bit taller. And one of the things that you could definitely see when you're playing around with these, when you're feeling them, moving them, is that these legs are much thicker. Now, this Pro Lite is the smallest out of the new Pro tripods. When you go up to the Pro and the Pro Tall, those have bigger legs. The reason is they're going to be even more stable. The whole point of this Pro version is that it's geared towards professionals. This was actually in collaboration with Jimmy Chin, which, because you have a big name in the adventure filmmaking space attached to this tripod, it might be another reason why the price is also a little bit higher. And this tripod was engineered working with Jimmy Chin, so focusing on the things that he wants out of a travel tripod when he's out climbing, doing his documentaries. And so for a lot of us, that's one of the reasons it might be appealing, because if you think it's a product that Jimmy Chin might be behind and something that he would use when he's out traveling, adventuring, and put his cameras on, maybe it's something that I would want to use for my cameras. I mean, as I said in the beginning of this video, most important thing is protecting our gear and making sure it doesn't fall over. So having a solid tripod is the key to all of this. Now, the max height of each of these is actually about the same. It's around 60 inches. So you have 60 inches on this one, you have 64 on the travel tripod, and then the Alonzi, it has 62 inches. So they're all roughly about the same, and that's with the center column fully up. So with all three of these tripods, you have the three legs, but then you also have the center column that goes up. Now, one of the big differences between the three is that the legs are a little bit different. This one has 4 legs on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 3 different clamps to be able to take it out and extend it. Whereas on the travel tripod and on the Alonzi, you have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, this is actually kind of a big differentiating factor, and you can see mine's actually kind of wobbly now. With these thinner legs and with 5 stages, you end up having even thinner legs as you go down towards this last one, which is super thin. So because this has longer legs and less stages, each leg in the Pro tripods allows it to be thicker and ultimately more stable. And so that's the same thing you see with the Alonzi. As you get down to this last one, it's super thin, and the whole tripod is kind of like bendy. And I don't know if that's just because I've been using this for a long time. I've put a lot of hours pulling these tripods in and out. They definitely have a little bit more give. Now, one thing that's cool that they added on the Pro tripods is a panning head. So you have an adjustment up here, and you can pan the head left and right, and it's a really smooth pan. On the original travel tripod, you didn't have that. There was no way to pan this head. However, with this Alonzi, this is a feature that they had on this as well. And then one of the last big things that differentiates these tripods is that there's now going to be a new tilt head that's going to be added on to the top of this so that you have tilt capabilities as well as pan. Now, I don't have that yet because, as I said, this was part of a Kickstarter. I got the tripod early as one of the early releases, and all the other components that I purchased with this aren't available yet. So I will be getting a tilt head eventually. However, there was no tilt head or pan head ever available for the travel tripod, the original one. Now, for head options on the Pro Lite, you have the ball head, which comes standard. You have this tilt puck. This one will have the added tilt feature with an extendable arm, but then there's also a leveling base if you do want to add your own head on this tripod as well. With the Alonzi, this one, you have that pan capability. There's no real tilt. However, this is their TT09 video version, and it has a pan tilt head. And this one is very similar. It's another carbon fiber tripod, but this one was actually even less. This was $275. It uses the same Arca Swiss system that all 3 of these use as well. This one is 3.3 pounds, so it's closer to the weight, the bigger one. It's got the 5 legs just as these two, but the big difference is this pan tilt head. Now, in terms of capacity with all of these tripods, the original travel tripod was said to be able to put a camera that's around 20 pounds. This Pro Lite is 35 pounds. And when you go to the Pro and the Tall Pro, those will hold even heavier cameras. Now, surprisingly, the Alonzi says that this tripod holds up to 40 pounds. I don't know if I'd want to put a 40-pound camera on this tripod, but that's what they say on their website. And what's crazy is the video one, this TT09 version, says it can hold up to 45 pounds. So I don't know how they're gauging how heavy these tripods will hold a camera, but the original travel tripod is definitely the least amount. And then these other ones say that they're going to hold like a 35 to 40 pound camera. Honestly, out of all these tripods, I probably would only put the heavier camera on the Pro version, and that's because of the leg. Like I said, these are all Arca Swiss tripods. So with this new Pro Lite, you snap the camera in, works with all Arca Swiss, and then at the top you have this lock to squeeze that Arca Swiss so it won't come off. And now what's a cool thing that they've added onto this Pro Light is there's now this actual flip that locks it. So there's no chance of me being able to take this camera off unless I flip this extra little switch. Then I can open it and take the camera off. On the original travel tripod, it was a lock, but if you accidentally hit the lock over, there's a chance that you could knock this off by just bumping it. This one has a better locking feature. And then on the Alonzi one, it has a little bit of a different system because it's a different company, but you actually have to press this button in to be able to release it. What's cool though, is you can actually lock this button. So same type of thing with this Pro Light is that you can lock your camera on. Now, one thing that I've noticed is putting the camera on the Peak design is much easier because you can just snap it in from the top. Whereas with the Alonzi tripods, you have to slide it in from the side. And sometimes it does get stuck and it's harder to slide in. And with the Alonzi, it really takes two hands to clip it in and out. Whereas the Peak design, you could just snap it in with one. Now, how this tripod works is you have this ball head, you twist your hand around, it allows you to move this ball head around, and then you twist it back and the whole thing stays stable. It's the same design that was on the original travel tripod. And if you want to go vertical on this, you could find your little notch and you can go fully vertical. So if you are shooting vertical content, you want to do portrait style stuff, you could easily do that with any of these tripods. One thing that's a little bit different on the Alonzi is that there's two notches so that you could flip it vertical either direction. Whereas with the Peak design versions, there's only one notch. Now, one of the big things is obviously these legs. These legs are thicker and they actually feel more stable. When I was putting this out on rocks or on the dirt, there were some different situations I had this camera set so I could get these different shots when I was out filming in the Eastern Sierras. One of them was literally on top of a rock. And actually putting this tripod with these thicker legs does feel more secure than if I was to use one of these other ones. And so I was able to get a shot, drive away, and let the camera just sit there. And I wasn't too worried about it falling. Now, if I was using one of these two with those smaller legs on the bottom, it's not as stable. It just doesn't feel as strong when you have it extended pretty high and you're using these last couple stages. These are really geared towards those of us who want to throw this in our backpack and have a lightweight option. You know, speaking of a backpack, how does it fit on the side of a backpack? Because both of these work super well. They're small, they're compact, they kind of fit right here. With this one, it is a little bit bigger. So putting it on the side of your bag, it's just going to fill a little bit taller over. It still isn't crazy high. It's only a few inches difference, but you know, it is a little bit bigger on the side of your bag. But I've taken this with me. I had a trip out to Minneapolis for a shoot, and I had this on the side of my bag when I was traveling. And it was no problem going through the airport, having it on the side of my bag. I really had no issues. Now, you get a carry case with it that does actually make it a lot easier to travel when you do have it somewhere like on the side of your bag. It's kind of a nice little leather case, and it will keep it safe and secure wherever you're going. Now, in terms of design, there is one aspect that I'm kind of curious their choice on it. So on the original travel tripod, to be able to move the center column up and down, you have this dial that kind of pull it out and you rotate, and that allows you to pull this column up and down. You push it in, it kind of stays flush, and it actually was a pretty good design, I thought. On this new tripod, they have these bigger thumb screws that don't pull out, and so they're always kind of sticking out. There's one for the center column to make the center column go up and down, and then there's also one for the pan head. Now, if I have this on the side of my backpack, I could see these getting caught on something. Like if this is rotated out by accident and it pulls against something, that could be a breaking point with this tripod. Or if this was to like drop on the ground and it landed on these contact points, well, that could destroy the tripod pretty easily if it was to fall on one of these. Now, the reason that these probably stick out, which, you know, I was thinking about, is probably if you have like gloves on or something like that, it's easier to actually grip these different thumb screws. You didn't have any of that on the original travel tripod because it sits kind of flush on the column. Now with the Alonzi, this is actually one of the problems I've had. So the pan has the same thing that sticks out. My son got a hold of this tripod and sat here and unscrewed the whole thing, and I had to like screw it back in. So it actually can come out. And that's another problem I've had with these Alonzi tripods. So these bottom feet, they're just a screw in and out. And if you look at my TT09, this video one, it has no feet because I've taken this on like documentary shoots, and just traveling, being in my backpack, it like falls apart. And also like on this one, the latches, I've had some of these latches break. So they're not as strong as say this travel tripod, which I've had no latches break. And also on both of these tripods, you actually have a screw in the bottom that you need an Allen key to be able to pull this off. So the feet will never come off. And if you want to change the feet, they actually have spikes you can put on the bottom here, but you're never going to have issues with these feet coming off. Whereas on all my Alonzi tripods, I've lost feet on basically all of them. So it is just like an interesting little design thing, something that's bothered me because I go to pull my tripod out and the feet are missing. Now on the bottom of the center column, you now have a tool with your Allen wrenches on it, but also this could be switched out for your phone mount if that's something that you want in the bottom here. So it's got the same type of system on the original travel tripod where you can hide something down here in the column. It is a very similar tripod to the original travel tripod. It has the added pan head. It's got a little bit more durability. I feel like the form factor itself is going to be a little bit stronger. And I will trust my camera on this tripod. But I guess the big question comes, is it worth $800 versus $600 versus $300? You know, personally, I would have liked to see the prices of Peak Designs come down a little bit, especially with the other competitors in the market, like these Alonzis, because these have worked super well. Like I've taken them to India, I've taken them to Rwanda, I've taken them to the Philippines, up to Alaska, and I've never had a tripod fail on me in terms of, you know, keeping my camera safe. I mean, overall, all of these tripods work well. They can fit on your backpack. They keep your camera stable. I do like the improvements that they made on this Peak design. I just don't like the improvements of the price that they have for this series. But if you do want to go with the more stability and just have that little bit of an edge, then this one is probably the one to go for. And I'm excited to test out the tilt head when it comes, because that tilt head does make this more of a video first tripod. But does that mean that these Alonzis are not good anymore? I still think the Alonzi is like my go-to. This is what I bring with me everywhere. Overall, I think all of these tripods work well when you're out in an adventure setting. Like if this one didn't come out, like this wasn't available, and we were deciding between these, I would still trust the Alonzi and the original Peak design for pretty much everything that I shoot. And I have had no problems with these tripods. However, now that there is this bigger one that is a little bit more stable with the legs, this will most likely be the tripod that I take with me when I'm out working and on an adventure. It's not that much heavier, and it gives me just a little bit more security overall. It really depends on the features that are most important to you and, you know, kind of what you really care about when it comes to a tripod. And with the Pro, you're going to be able to hold even bigger cameras, more stable. With the Pro Tall, it goes even higher than all of these tripods. So there is some advantages to going to that Peak Design Pro Tall version. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about all of these different tripods. There'll be links down below in the description if you want to purchase any one of these tripods. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the big Eastern Sierra video that I have coming soon. I destroyed my Mavic 4 Pro. I almost rolled my Jeep. You know, there's a lot of things that happened that kind of went wrong. So it's going to be a very interesting video to watch. But next, you should check out this video right here, which is going to be a video that's going to help you become a better storyteller when you're out crafting your videos. I'll see you over there.